you're cool. I've been waiting on the seat for years. I've been waiting for the secret all along. And you know what brings it? Don't you know what soul can sing? Singing about this dream so long for you. I've been dreaming about the song. So long for you, I've been singing about the song. So long for you, I've been dreaming about the one with you. I've been singing about this dream. So long for you, till I see the color of your eyes reflected in the picture I made for you. All right, what's up everybody? So I realized yesterday I did the show without any reverb on my voice at all, which is fine, but I turned it back on tonight, so let me know if it's too much. I just want a little bit for the mood. Evening Space Fam, 7:33, Central Florida. It just cleared up for me. It was really thick and cloudy, but I'm seeing our waning full moon. Let's see exactly what it is. It's 99% illuminated right now. So yesterday when we saw it, it was 100%, and it's lost a little bit. And you can see where right up at the top near Mare Crisium, you can kind of see it's a little less sharp. What's happening? Kimmy and Genghis Khan and Jeremy and anybody else just joining. Let's get the show kicked off with some tunes first. And let's watch this tonight, and hopefully we'll see some Orion as well. Some Rider.
Right.
All right. All right, all right. What's up, everybody? Welcome. Just wanted to talk about Donald Yates's link to Astrum. I don't know why the link didn't work. I tried to let you do it, but it still didn't let me. It gave me an error. Either way, Donald Yates, what's happening? Wild Vicky and EUK and TJ and who else we got? And everybody else just joining, coming in. Oh, American Life Videos, what's happening? Driving, can't type, just listen. Sounds good, no problem, no problem. Benomaly, what's going on? I got rid of the reverb, I think maybe just for singing. For talking, actually, it's better without it, right? Let me know. Switch it off for a second, I think it just sounds a little bit better to me. Lost Brooklyn, what's happening? Quickly, so yeah, this Astrum channel, I went to it real quick. It's got 541,000 subscribers. And I'm looking at some of the thumbnails here, and it says, what will NASA's InSight do on Mars? And then, what did NASA high-rise camera discover on Mars? And you can see the preview. It looks very high quality, but I think, Donald, you were talking about asteroid theory. For me, there's something about these types of channels. I think really the language immediately, it says, Astrum space for everyone. It says, find space interesting, but are put off by its complexities. Tired of mainstream sensationalism? Are you a space enthusiast that wants to watch concise and interesting space documentaries? This channel is for you. Script based off a quote by Carl Sagan. So right there, that kind of, that gets you wondering immediately if you know what Carl Sagan is guilty of. But anyway, I'm not sure exactly because I'm not going to watch the videos right now, but I assume that it's standard cosmology. Anything with a huge following like this, I got to say, except for like Suspicious Observers and Thunderbolts Project, and maybe Ken's channel at this point, who have controversial opinions about mainstream science, but still have over 100,000 subscribers. But anyway, not to pass immediate judgment on Astrum, but I don't know. There is a standard story. That's how it goes. And I assume that they abide by that standard story. The other thing, I'll talk a little bit about Carl Sagan, but not to be flip, but this idea that people are too impatient to learn about space and connect with space, this assumption that we need to nutshell things and we need to simplify it and dumb it down, is what's actually wrong with science, right? It's not the other way around. Like, we don't have too much of it and it needs to be put into more sound bites. So that's my first takeaway. Second takeaway is anybody who kind of quotes Carl Sagan because of royalty is really not doing their research. If right now there's a channel called Thunderbolts Project that talks about Immanuel Velikovsky, and anybody worth their salt should really read about Velikovsky and then watch a video where Carl Sagan tries to bury this amazing writer who proposed some interesting theories, a lot of which turned out to be true. And on national television, because he had the show, somehow used that platform to denounce and to ostracize somebody like Immanuel Velikovsky. So Carl Sagan, to me, is very petty, even though he was a wonderful entertainer and seduced many of our grandparents and parents at the time. But I have a kind of harsh reaction to people who use fame to snuff out like just intelligent questioning and, you know, dissent, essentially, right? But this was the cult of Edwin Hubble and Sagan. But I definitely encourage people to check out, just type in Carl Sagan and Velikovsky and see how nefarious Carl Sagan really is. Hot take. Confessions of a homebrew astronomer. Carl Sagan, not as cool as once thought. EUK, what's going on? Shout out Brazil. Let's see. Kimmy says, crappy and rainy, 48 now, but dropping snow in about 11, Columbus, Ohio. Man, well, I'm sending you some nice weather. It finally got really pretty here. So I'm gonna share the view with y'all and some more controversial thoughts. What's up, alternate reality? Says good evening, pray you're well. May I ask which direction you're facing and location? So I'm near Tampa, Florida, Central Florida in the US, and I'm facing east, a few degrees off of east, northeast at about, what's the altitude of the moon right now, just to give you perspective? 15 degrees altitude. Coming up with Orion and Sirius, flanked by the Geminids and the Kencrids, the two meteor shower clusters. What's happening to Hans Koenig? What's happening to Golden Bear? What's happening? Anybody else? Did I miss? All right. Ask me more questions about ancient scientists or electric universe or whatnot. Just gonna wing it tonight. Maybe I'll play some music in a little while, but right now just gonna chill with y'all, and I gotta go make myself a drink. I got nothing here. So let me play something to bide the time. What about? This is a groovy number. The Sky Don't Lie. getting here. Starting off at Sea of Tranquility. It's looking very pentagonal and very blue. I have the filter adjustment ever so slight on the saturation and the gamma, but that is natural moon color. Let me get this set up, talk about it a little bit, and let me know if you want me to stop anywhere in particular. Let's just make it just bright enough. Turn that off. And yeah, let me turn on my paint tool as well. Where did you go? One moment. Clickety clack. 7:55. I thought I was going to take a break tonight. It was looking so cloudy, but no, not passing up the opportunity to stream the moon, watch the moon, share the moon, talk about Electric Universe, Eileen McCusick, Rupert Sheldrake, Halton Arp, Emanuel Velikovsky, people whose names are uttered far too little in our science debate dialogue, whatever it is. It's really more like a swamp. Okay, where is it? There we go. Hit that, lower this. Thankfully I have coffee tonight. Old coffee, but good coffee. All right, Sea of Tranquility in view. That's our kind of pentagonal shape. We have a notch because we have a secondary hypotrochoid toroidal shape over here. This is Fecunditatis. This is Tranquilitatis. And this is Proclus and Chrysium above it. Salt and pepper. We've got this little cool feature that looks like the letters high, H-I, spells out high, and then you got Messier A and B with a cool, almost like shuttlecock, and then Proclus, you can kind of see it makes this diamond shape, and this diamond shape is reminiscent, we'll see later. Oh, thank you. Please make more noise. Jesus Christ. All right, so this diamond shape you'll see at Kepler and at Aristarchus, and you'll also see it kind of embedded into Mare Imbrium often. All right, let's move around just a little bit here. Let's take a look at Mare Crisium, and then because of libration right now, it's so hard to talk and think. All right, because of libration, we're seeing very little area beyond Mare Crisium, and it's also looking a lot less hexagonal, even though we can draw that shape. On the wax, you can see this far more from the point where the angle is tilted more towards us from here. And so we'll see more of this and more of this. But that's Mare Crisium, Pierce, Picard, Proclus, Cleomedes. Sounds funny. And then this kind of Birkeland filament moving through. Almost looks like a crab. Yeah, it was like one of those electric bikes. Probably food delivery or something. Cool little question mark. Looks like the Joker right there. You got, this is all pareidolia tonight. Little face over here. What's going on? Because I keep forgetting to do this. There's so many things I want to show y'all where all these shapes are embedded into the moon. Why? Because humans and animals and trees are grown along Birkeland filaments that look like these shapes, not because it's a coincidence. I think if I say it 1,000 times, it'll happen. It'll finally happen. All right, so Sea of Serenity, Sea of Tranquility, up close, Sea of Serenity and Sea of Tranquility, side by side, hexagonal shapes, hypotrochoid, hourglass in the middle, Birkeland filament going through, center point, dielectric inertial plane, layers of consciousness and time. What else we got? So also Sea of Serenity, very much a pentagon right there. Then you've got Pasadonius Crater, one of the cooler names, and kind of a tail beyond that. You got a similar feature here. I forget the name of this, but it's almost like a small sinus iridum, like a wrench Those kind of truncated hexagons. Again, right here, very prominently sinus iridum or sinus iridum. That's how I remember it. But yeah, Mare Imbrium right here. You can see the dendrites reaching from Copernicus. You can see the two kind of dark and light regions due to the levels of iron, titanium, and minerals in the Mare, in the Maria. What else we got? This is apparently where the Chinese landers, the Chang'e 3 at least, landed right around here. It's kind of amazing. If you believe it, it's astounding. If you don't believe it, it's also astounding. That like this thing exists and it's so far away. Plato Crater, looking very elongated tonight, but even that, it's basically a very elongated hexagon. They all are. Kind of a diamond shape over here, almost looks like a mushroom, almost like a video game character. Eyes and a mouth, but it's because you have this hypotrochoid again going right through, side by side, dielectric inertial. Hans is asking, what is the highest peak and the lowest crater on the moon? It's a great question. Let me find out. Mons Huygens, Mount Huygens, and let's punch that into the atlas. Right, so that's in the Apennine mountain range, which is right in view, right here to the right. So dead center on the screen. So this is still the wide shot. I feel like I could actually change the lens in a little bit to adjust the camera direct to the 11 and get even closer. But just for now, let's have some fun with this. So right around, I would say here, this is the tallest peak, Mons Huygens, and it says dimensions 40 by 40 kilometers, 16,400 feet tall, or 5,400 meters. And yeah, and that whole kind of region is roughly around that too. So what is it? Some are 12,700, 11,000, 10,600. Yeah, that whole Apennine mountain range, right where, like, I've just circled the center of it, but this is the whole Apennine mountain range. Okay, what's the lowest crater? Probably something we can't see. Deepest crater. The South Pole Aitken Basin. Right, so that we definitely can't see, but because the poles of the moon basically we can see from the side, but we can't really see them straight on, but visible from Earth. Let's see. Clickety clacks all over. Second deepest crater. Let's see if that's better. Of course, why would it be? All right, let's see if I can figure out in reverse. So how deep is the Aitken Basin on the Mon? All right, it's roughly 1,600 miles deep. But I don't know if this atlas gives me depth. Well, anyway, that's what it is. And let's see where it would be if I were to be able to point at it. So Aitken, the Atkin or Aitken. Wait, that's on the entirely flip side. That's what I was actually talking about last night. I was like, the basin, but it's the Aitken Basin. That's not even on the south side. That's like that whole huge region on the far side of the moon. So I don't know. I don't know what would be the closest to depth. Anybody have any suggestions? Yeah. What up, Marky Rowe? What's happening? I would imagine that, let's see what Copernicus is actually. Oh no, data corruption? That sucks. I just lost the atlas. I hope it doesn't break everything. All right, that's fine. That's fine. All right, Copernicus is 11,400 feet tall. So right here, this rim of Copernicus is insanely tall. And then, so obviously the floor of Copernicus, comparatively to everything around it, is very shallow, is very deep, rather. I also assume because it's a little bit like a blister where everything around Copernicus is rising towards it. It's being pulled from that one center. So this is one of those particular features I've talked about, but it's very prominently electrically scarred. It's just unbelievable to me that I used to look at this and think, was this an impact crater? But it, you know, just looking at it, you can see that there was a persistent kind of blistering or bubbling from this point, and all these emanations or gatherings of these dendritic features all around Copernicus. It's just too obvious to be on the fence about. There's always a thumbs down, Patrick. Don't worry about it. All good. Those who know, know. Those who know, know. Right, so we got, where's this? Let me move this. It's a little bit difficult to see, but it is hexagonal. But what's even cooler is that these kind of regions around it look like nested hexagon fractals. So like right here, you can kind of see same sort of thing happening, same sort of thing happening. It's like that game Hexic, if you've ever played that game. Anyway, nested pentagons and hexagons indicate electrical bubbling. All right, then these two features to the left, my favorite, Aristarchus, to the right, Kepler. And look at this, the plateaus that both of these exist upon. And again, go look at JPL's How the Moon Was Formed simulation and look at the point at which Aristarchus and Kepler are formed or added to the animation. And you'll see that it's basically yada yada'd, which is a term that is used that I borrowed, but it's almost like, okay, let's just throw a few fireballs at this region and, and fade in Aristarchus and Kepler. This is the main video on YouTube that has millions of views, and this is what kids or adults basically say, oh, I want to see how the moon was formed. What's the official video? And the official video basically yada yada is these two major, Copernicus as well. But like one could argue and say, oh, Copernicus, pretty typical ballistic impact. But tell me how Kepler and Aristarchus were really like formed. Like, why did they look like this? How are they all like connected? And why in this one region do you have a Pythagorean triangle with these three extremely distinct shapes? Not only that, what kind of things do you see? You see diamonds, you see geometry, you see dendritic ridges, you see craters on the rims of larger craters, you see interaction between these regions, like high impact zones that are very bright white and less regions that are dark, right? So are these islands in the ocean? Like, are we seeing this like archipelago? Or are these regions that were formed by blisters, by consistent electrical arcing? What's up, Barbara McGill? How's it going? Oh, thanks so much. I really appreciate your presence hanging out with us. Explain the darker bits lower left. So the story is that the moon was impacted several times a couple of billion years ago by these things called the heavy bombardment periods, or the late heavy bombardment. Ultimately, that's one of those things that you really can't prove or disprove. It's just extrapolated speculative data. What you can look at the moon and gather is what we're doing right now, is looking at the moon with all the science that we've already accrued from everything. NASA, homebrew, historians, and looking at the moon with fresh eyes and trying to understand how these regions were formed. So the standard story is such that the moon was hit so many times that it essentially boiled into a lava lake. All these dark regions, the Maria, Serenity, Tranquility, Imbrium, Fecunditatis, Nectaris, Humorum, all of them were boiled, and they're hugely empty, like ocean floors, but like chunks out of the moon. And then they filled up with lava of some sort, and they cooled. And then all the regions that we're looking at now, like Aristarchus, Kepler, Copernicus, are almost like volcanoes and islands in oceans of lava that have cooled. However, there's some specificity. So that's the standard model. That's what I grew up with. There are obviously other details there, but strictly speaking, there's just this understanding that the moon is definitely over 2 to 4 billion years old. There was definitely a period of bombardments by swarms of asteroids, or like just periods of consistent impact. And so if you see the simulation on the JPL site, you'll see this in action, where I basically went from thinking, okay, like, what is this all about? How is this really happening? Given just seeing all these features on the moon up close. So the first time I saw Aristarchus, I immediately was like, hey, what the hell's going on here? Let's look at this. So there's a diamond here. First of all, diamonds, right? Why is that shape persistent? There's really no explanation as to why that would form like that. Why is it not more like random, like an island would be, right? So it's very strictly like a trapezoid, or a parallelogram rather, but really more so a diamond shape. And you have almost a recursive diamond under Kepler. Kepler also has these arcs, these radiating or rays that come out of it or that lead to it. Same thing with Copernicus, right? But all of these don't look like fractures. They look like dendritic filaments. They look like lightning bolts coming out of it. Then you have this very dense, bright region, Aristarchus Crater, that is one of the brightest spots on the moon all the time. So even in darkness, you can see this. Second probably would be Proclus, next to Chrysium. Hey, what's up, Howie Dunn? So yeah, so apparently all this dark stuff is lava that has cooled. Another way to think about it, if you're thinking in electric universe or plasma terms, I would imagine that actually the moon's surface there was this lighter region on top of this darker region, and that was cooked away like rust on a surface in a way. So the moon was never had giant oceans. It always had this kind of surface, and then when it interacted with Mars or Earth, some of the surface was essentially electrically scarred or carved off, or there's probably a word for it, but when they do EDM, electric discharge machining, and they kind of cut through metal, imagine if you were removing layers of metal from a surface. So that's how I would imagine what happened on the surface of the moon, which would leave very perfectly carved out diamonds and residual current markings like scars. What else is going on here, right? There's other stuff for sure, which is you have, okay, this is another way to look at it. The reason there's a pinch at the corner is because of the butterfly shape or the torus shape again, and the hyperboloid or hypotrochoid, because there's a Birkeland filament running through it. If you ask any electric universe debunker about this, you know who I'm talking about. They have no reason, no rational explanation for why this feature exists or how it was formed. Right now, I just gave you 2 or 3 different ways of how it could be formed by lightning cutting it out and boiling it. Another reason that this exists over here is because there's a Birkeland current that cut right through it. This would be akin to Proclus or Tycho. I guess really the pinch is where the volcanoes or the pimples or the blisters would rise up from. Everything around it would be its counter space. That's why you see these diamond shapes everywhere, side by side. Let's look up a little bit here. You kind of see the same sort of thing happening, where this is more like, I think this is more so what's happening here. So we're seeing what happened with Kepler in a slightly different way, at a different angle. I still haven't exactly figured out Kepler, to be honest. I'm doing it live with y'all, but you can definitely see this region underneath it. It's very prominent, and that reinforces the pentagonal shape. Let's look at other regions here. All of it's looking really nice tonight, but let's look at Tycho Crater for a moment. All right, so Tycho Crater. Just lower this a little bit. So again, Tycho Crater, let's see how big that is. Tycho Crater is 52 miles across, or 86 kilometers, and it's 14,500 feet at the rim. But then you have this region that stems from it that is so funny. When you look at an atlas, it's really not apparent. At least it's not as apparent as when we see it over here. But the 2 markings that go across from the left, these are 2 things that are so curious and have no real explanation within a bombardment or asteroid or meteor strike model. Like, it definitely looks like something melted into the surface in a way. I hope I didn't miss anybody in the chat. Hope you're feeling good. Let's keep moving here. All right, Tycho is also has really interesting things, which is the 2 parallel rays don't actually run up to Tycho. They almost get cut off. So you have all this kind of very organized fractal action happening around these blister marks or volcano marks. If we could zoom in a little bit, you would see that Tycho, again, is a bit of a hexagonal. It's much more diffuse, but it's also has its angles. All of them really do. All right, let me take a little break here because my back is getting sore. And let's get a wide shot for a moment, and then I'll zoom in even more when I switch the lens up. forgive, locking my lips to break them apart. Your diamonds in orbit, sparkle and tricks too sweet and spark. Dying to forget, eyes of the world, just let it go. Stuck in this orbit, sinking the coil, darling, just break my heart anymore. I can't take it. Never leave it after. I can't take it. Where does this feeling come from? Where do I get the right to ask such outrageous questions? Where does this feeling get me? How do I know it's right to ask such crazy questions? Where will this feeling get me? Oh, where will this feeling get me? Now I know I have the right to ask those outrageous questions. But I'm trying to forgive, locking those lips to break them apart. I remember what you said. Diamonds in orbit, sparkle and tricks too sweet and spark. Dying to forgive, eyes of the world, just let it go. Stuck in this orbit, stuck in the coil, darling, just break my heart anymore. All right. Back at it. So, yeah, I got some clouds. What's up with that? What's up with that, clouds? It's a cloudy night. Let's play some tunes, shall we? Shall we? Yesterday was fun. Yesterday was magical. But today was even better, 'cause you were in it. Today was even better, sitting next to you. Sitting next to you, looking into your eyes. Sitting right here close to you, whisper in your ear just the things you wanna hear. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I left home at 17. I couldn't tell you, Mom, I was living the dream. What could I do? For a while I played the field. How could I prove the hidden yield without the blues to fear? My heart was cool in solitary. Wake up, it's imaginary. Oh man, don't you know your life is worth more than this? Yeah. What would you have me do? It's a simulation. Wake up in solitary. Wake up, it's January almost. Man, don't you know your life is worth more than this? Catch me if you fall, catch me if you're low. The moon goes high enough, like love you used to know. Catch me if you fall, and catch me if you're low. What's happening, Ian Kendall? Guess we lost the moon. It's crazy. I guess we lost the moon. Like a dream in the morning. Yeah, we lost the moon like a love on the ceiling. Yeah, we lost the moon like a dream in the morning. I think I can get it back for us, though. Yeah, it's just I have to switch the lens back. All right, quick intermission. Let's do some... Haven't played Flip It for the Edge in a while. Let's do that one. First song off of Call in My Mind. Again, Take Back Space on Spotify, Amazon, and iTunes. Although I didn't find it on iTunes because maybe it just needs to get re-upped. And in the links in the description if you want to go to Bandcamp and check out some more of the music.
for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world. Out of the casino, 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 out of the casino. Flip it for the edge, flip it for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world. Telltale's gotta burn downstairs. Seven times on the main room of the Telltale's gotta burn downstairs. Seven times on the main room of the casinos on the shooting downstairs. Out of the casino, out of the casino, set up the casino, out of 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 the casino, set up the casino, out of the casino, out of the casino, out of the casino. Flip it for the edge, flip it for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world, flip it for the edge, flip it for the world. How did you know me? 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 How did How do you know me? How do you know me?
All right. So I'm just going to leave it on this setting. Actually, lots of clouds just moved in, so thankfully we still have a little bit of a view and got some crispiness early on. So Barbara's asking about what I think about expanding Earth. It makes a lot of sense from the standpoint of Pangea. So if you imagine Earth was almost like the moon, right? Like no oceans, and then it started to expand, that's where you would have those regions that could fill up with water, so to speak. And that's why continental drift makes a lot of sense on expanding Earth. The only thing about it is that I definitely believe in compression and rarefaction along a wavefront, along a Birkeland filament. Therefore, is Earth and the size of stars and Earths and planets, is it, does it start as a seed? Does it grow to maturity and then wither away? Or does it get to maturity and then pop, right? Does it get to extremes? Like a bubble in a sink doesn't typically have a life cycle of a fruit, for example. Like an apple starts really small, then it gets to a point where it reaches its full size, and then it ripens, and then it gets rotten, and then it kind of gets back to dust. So, and humans do the same sort of thing. If you see like those caricatures of a baby to midlife to a hunched over old person. So maybe stars pop and Earths wither. Maybe both of them exist or occur. But definitely the idea of Earth grown along an electrical branch or root system is way more logical than the Earth was just flung into the empty void. That's really the premise of it all. Yeah, what's happening? Fantasy Ecstasy, and also Mary, and anybody else I missed popping in here? Maybe I'll just ad-lib tonight for fun. Very cloudy moon. This is something totally new. This is something totally new. It's the first I've ever seen of it. This is something totally new. The first I've ever seen of it. First I ever heard of it. This is something new. This is something new. Ooh, I hope you like it ever, or just go instrumental. Is that a really subtle way of saying don't ramble on all night? What's happening, Esoteric Gold? What's up? All is energy. No matter what, I always end up on these kind of dark and moody vibes. The darkness in your mind's eye. Let's reconnect someday. I haven't texted you in years. Let's reconnect one day. I haven't felt like we did when we were near. Let's connect. Let's reconnect one day. I noticed you in my DMs the other night. Took me forever to reply to you. Why? Took me forever to acknowledge me. Why? Took so long, so long. It feels like torture every time you come around. Hanging out, blowing dust into the sky. Why? No, why? maybe it cleared a little bit. I got a little too bright. Let's see. Perhaps. Hell yeah. Hells yeah. Here we go. Back to sharp moon. Sharply moon. Kimmy Kane. You're my Kimmy Kane. No treat when I lost you. You're my Kimmy Kane. Oh yeah. No moon that we lost you. Oh moon that we lost you. You're my Kimmy Kane. Hurricane, yeah. Even more, got really clear. Of course, I would do this with a remote, but what remote can see? No remote will be enough. In boxes, your infinite toxin, all got something to say. Indestructible. I had a frog in my throat. Excuse me. Maybe? Damn. All right. None of that Rona coming in here. Let's try it one more time. Ooh, oh, boxes and boxes of infinite toxins, all got something to say. Indestructible ideas are vanishing, aimlessly wandering away. Nation crawls insatiable into your nighttime activities, your liberties. But can you say, you're my sister and I love you forever? Say, you're my brother and I love you forever. Say, you're my sister and I love you forever. Before I recall, I knew the sun, elements of fallen graces. Look out, all we love is from the one, healing bones and body breaking. Would you tell me what you like? I got so much, I got so much, I got so much love for you. And I got to say, yes, I got to say, you're my sister and I love you forever. You're my brother and I love you forever. Say, you're my sister and I love you forever. Find the time, find the time, find the time. You're my brother and I love you forever. Find the time, just find the time. Love you for. Am I playing a sitar? No. Does it sound like that? That's cool. I think it's just because I'm running logic from a Mac into a PC, and that kind of degradation gives it a little bit of the metallic tinge. What's up, D. Peterson? Oh, don't tell me about how your weather weather's gonna screw with my view. And please don't lecture me about the standard view. Oh, tell me about how we can get along. Please tell me about how you like these songs. Even if you can't understand how you make a hand, how you live and die. Won't you give me one more reason to exist? I beg you, I have no resistance to your love. Just give me one more reason to stare up at the sky. No electric season, love won't die. Our love won't die. Give me another light. Electric spaces high. Hey, what's up, Elita? Hopi New Year. Exactly. Almost there. Almost there. Super must see what's happening. The party has already started. Party is here. It's the party channel. It's the way we say get down in space. This is the party channel. All you gotta do is get down and move it. It's the party channel. This is how we carry out this year with no fear. With no fear. This is the party channel. All you need is some beer. No fear. All you need is a hefty smoke. 2 or 3 longer totes. This is the party channel. No, this is the party channel. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is the party channel. Yeah, yeah, party channel. Not potty mouth, but party channel. Survive. I don't know why I keep going to the F over there. F sharp. F sharp sucks. Let's switch up the moonshot. Been looking right here at the top. That was Mare Fecunditatis and Langrenus Crater. To the left of that, Tranquility. At the top, Chrysium Proclus. To the left, Serenity. Hercules, Atlas, Mare Frigoris, Frigorist. Yes, please subscribe to Party Channel. Party every night, ooh, party. All right, no more party. No more party. Let's get back to the tune. All right, now let's play something that I have chords to, because now I'm running out of ideas. Which is not really true. Not true. Let me circumvent myself. So I want to play something that I haven't played That's too weird. How about something in B flat? Sounds like everything. I'll just play this for a second and see where it takes us. Let's try this again. Earth minerals, thought is so criminal in this sphere. I am subliminal, trying liminal light travel, but don't forsake your place in the celesphere. Don't forsake your race, not for any mind or fear. And then we find our way, then we find our way back. The one I made up, a moon just like this, hell I've been through, and now you want me to come along. You were the fire I needed, just like the memories when we were teenagers, and now you want me to come along. Only if I trusted you, babe. Only if you're loving me this way. Only if I trusted you. Say you won't forsake me. Just give me another reason to live. Give me another reason to wait up for you, but now you want me to come along. Whew. Just having fun here. Let me take a little break here. Got another refill. Play some Cadet for y'all. 9 o'clock. Wednesday feels like a Friday. Penultimate night of the year. Happy penultimate night of the year, everybody. All right, cadet, let's do it.
Feel what you feel, you got to know when to speak. Better believe me, this is what you seek. Love what you know, you got to learn how not to fall. Better believe it, want to tell you all. Think what you want, but I can't listen to the news. Better believe me, soon we cannot lose. Oh, bleed, how we bleed, you got to know just when to heal. Better believe me, this is why we're real. Know what you don't know, just know when not to call. Better believe me, will it tell us all? Think what you want, don't just listen to the news. Better believe it, still we cannot lose. It's out of the way, it's full of fools. But it's not my kind of love, little girl. It's out of the way, it's full of fools. Then I'm inside out, I'm outside out. It's out of the way, it's full of fools. Can't be tried forever. It's part of the way, full of fools. But I'm outside out, I'm outside out. That's just the way you steal cool. Your literature eyes make all the rules. Cooking up every sunken goose. Slowly tightening my noose. That's just what you want. Don't listen to the rules. Way is full of fools. When I'm inside out, I'm outside out. It's out of the way, it's full of fools. Can't be tried forever. It's part of the way, full of fools. When I'm inside out, I'm outside out.
All right. Went back to the wide shot here because I'm going to play a couple more tunes. nation, we all have our faces to play. Institutions fighting against the dream. Build your world with nothing to fear but yourself. Apparitions that we bleed through. Every fear you're open wide, so modulation. You just can't feel this ride so high. Your love I'm craving. You just can't feel it till you bring me back. You bring me back out of the war. Ooh, you bring me back. You bring me back. Damn, I ruined it. I love you once. Ooh, feel your open wide. Ever feel your open wide soul modulation? You just can't feel this ride so high. Your love I'm craving. Ooh, you just can't feel it till you you bring me back. Just bring me back. Man, it's right on the peripheral of my vocal range right now. Oh, I hate singing out of key. I should write things lower for me. Just write things a little easier for me to sing. It ain't easy not being trained. It ain't easy doing it every day. But I try to keep it all together. I try. The clouds have eclipsed the moon, indeed. I don't know what's going on tonight. It's just getting weird. Let's see. Maybe I'll adjust it one more time. Oh, now it's totally done. Not playing nice tonight. All right, let's sit here with the shutter open. Yeah, so bring me back. That was a sloppy mess. Let's try waiting. So you keep me, so you keep me waiting. I don't know, not feeling that actually. Man, I'm playing a lot of these. I feel like I have to transcribe a few more new ones that I have not played before. Let's try this one. Thanks for all the kind comments, everybody. You could help me with the high stuff. Yeah, it's just lots of practice and working on it. Yeah, lots and lots of practice. Kimmy says because it's the eve of a new stinky Year's Eve. That's why it's weird. Let's see. What did I miss? What do I think of the ether? 100% ether friendly here. It's obviously like if you look at, it's not obvious, but if you research Einstein and you see what he was really talking about, so he has this idea about variable speed of light, and he talks about the ether existing. So it's kind of this re-exploration or re-examination rather of Einstein's writings, where you see that, you know, getting rid of the ether in what ultimately became more popular than his other writings, the theory of relativity now just abandons this medium for things to be within. So I feel like I'm trying to just gather my thoughts here from from singing to talking about this stuff, but essentially, yes, ether is potential or charge, and we're kind of in, or we're in this soup, or I think everything basically is ether. And then, like Tesla said, there's resonance or sound within the ether that I guess forces energy to, and I'm really struggling for the words, to counter space to impinge upon these electrical filaments, therefore creating the matter that we see in relation to the counter space that we don't necessarily see, but is basically holding everything in place. And that dark matter or cold dark matter or dark energy is really what the ether is, or, you know, the void or space or antimatter or any number of things that people call this what we're in. But yeah, I think ether is real, but more so I think that when you think about ether or air around a planet or a human or a fruit or a tree, it actually to me is now these very thin plasma layers in the ether that are stored with cymatic encodings, which hold all the information. It's of your life, the senses, the moment in time, how you felt, all the thoughts you had. That's how every person and or every particle and galaxy and planet keeps all their experiences and information with them at all times in plasma layers. And you could say that these are etheric plasma layers. So what happens even further than that is once you accept that there's an ether and there's a plasma ether, you have to start thinking about densities and layers and how that correlates to, one, the geometry, the hypertrochoid and the torus, and then the onion skin layers of plasma around that, and how they all kind of overlap and create transverse waves and kind of intersections of the ripples of these pulses, these oscillations within the ether. You talk about scalar and fractal recursiveness, so things that are small are the same as things that are very large and so on. This symmetry of shape throughout, like when you zoom into a fractal, ultimately you get back to a certain type of shape that's very familiar. And then also you have this idea of going through these plasma layers, and a great way to think about it is the way you're switching between radio stations. Some is static, and then all of a sudden you tune into a station, then static, tune into a station, static. And that, if you visualize that in terms of fractals or cymatics, you'll see that in between each of these, there's just a bunch of noise that looks like randomness, and then you get to a certain frequency oscillation, and then there's pattern. And then you push that a bit further, randomness. You push that a bit further, again, you get organization. The same way you look at a mitochondria or a cell, or you look at the solar system from one of the satellite photos, and you see, you're like, wow, this really looks the same. What's really interesting to me, conspiratorially, is why nobody makes the direct correlation that says, okay, this is why it looks this way, versus, wow, that's cute. It's coincidental that this galaxy looks like a molecule. Because, you know, you have to uphold this traditional dogma about the Big Bang and about no connectivity or no electricity that's viable in space. But I think it's really the opposite. What's up, electric crystals? Welcome. So etheric bands are stored in plasma of some kind. Yeah, so what I mentioned yesterday on the show, I linked to Eileen McCusick, who does the human biofield, and then I linked to Rupert Sheldrake, who talks about the morphogenic field or the human morphogenetic field, really just field consciousness, right? So consciousness not being inside the brain or inside the nucleus of an atom, but rather in its shells. So if you imagine a nucleus and the electron, so-called electron shells that now we know are discharge probability, if you follow quantum, you'll see that these shells are information, and the nucleus, which really is just protons, it's not really neutrons, it's just the proton that exists, and the proton goes through different phasing, and that's why there are things like neutrinos and neutrons and quarks and muons and gluons and weak force, and all these things are just interpretations of what an electric discharge does along a Birkeland filament. I mean, if I can state it as simply as I've ever understood it, all the math, even the black hole math, the stuff that's very complicated, if you really try and break it down to its simplest forms, what it's trying to do is map out the placement of a point in three-dimensional space. They say four-dimensional quaternion space, but it's really 3D space, so an XYZ position of a point, which is what we are, right? Humans, according to Earth, are a three-dimensional point. Well, you could say we're 2D on a sphere, but a lot of people wouldn't say that, but I would say that. But we are like in 3D space. So all the math that we have to deal with really kind of just tries to explain this torus and hypertrochoid geometry and how, let's say you have these etheric plasma layers around a planet, and then you have another etheric plasma layer from another planet, and those are interacting. Those 2 points, the ripple effect, like in water when you see ripples meeting each other and they create points. These points, because of the way nature structures with attraction and repulsion, you end up getting these very highly organized cymatic, I would imagine, in flux, cymatic organized information points, right? Which is why memory is fluid to a degree, right? Thoughts change, ideas change over time, but they roughly stay the same. And as they get further and further into the past, further and further away from the source, from the self, or not the self rather, but the nucleus, which is, in this case, the human body, the shells, so your birth is 30 feet away from you in a very thin, diffuse plasma shell. What does this plasma shell hold? Information about the temperature and your parents and your birth. But because it's so diffuse and so far away from your actual physical body, it's very hard to remember your birth. But let's say you bring it in halfway from your birth to where you are right now, about 15 feet away from you. That is your midlife. Let's say you're 50 years old. That's when you're 25. If I asked you what you did when you were 25, it would be way easier to remember it, right? And even in a way, we look to the side when we were trying to remember things, because we're literally trying to focus or resolve cymatic memory patterns that we are carrying with us the whole time. This is what the Earth does, I assume, and stars and planets and animals all carry their own entire existence with them at all times. This is how you remember things, and you remember the shape of yourself. There's no other way it would be possible even, and simply because neuroscience has done years and years of slicing the brain apart, and they can't find a single way to really interpret the brain. What I just told you is an extremely simple understanding of how consciousness actually works, versus neuroscience that will just ad hoc you to death. They'll just tell you all this mumbo jumbo about how impressive it is, but there's really no answer to how it all works. It's just a series of electrical connections, and some of them happen in tandem, and these are the parts of the brains that light up when you say this word. And I'm like, no, everything is fractally recursive. Therefore, a brain is like the nucleus of an atom, is like the center of a galaxy, like a sun, for example. So the sun is experiencing the layers of plasma around it that contain the Earth, for example. So the sun can sense the Earth's plasma sheath, and the Earth has its own memories of its existence, which begs the question that if this is the case, which I think it is, but if I'm correct and Eileen McCusick is correct and Rupert Sheldrake is correct, then one could theoretically read cymatic memories from outside a human body, which is probably why this is hidden, because nobody wants to know that you could just scan a human signature from a distance and read their entire life story, right? This is really, I guess, the implication of it. So they even do it in sci-fi movies, and people are like, what is that all about? But it's real, because if you do Kirlian photography, you'll see the little dendritic electric thunderbolts that connect the human body and all things to the ether, So Barbara says, we are told that plasma is made artificially. However, that is a lie. Well, there are several different things, right? Fire is a plasma. It's almost like, and this is from Ken Wheeler, but again, you can derive this information yourself. Plasma is pretty much everything. It's just everything is in different states or phases, oscillations of plasma, because we're along a Birkeland filament ourselves. So as we move through a Birkeland filament, and as the proton really, the periodic table basically emerges along a Fibonacci spiral that comes out of the center of all these toroidal hyperboloid shapes, the center of a plasmoid. So blood plasma, fire is liquidy, right? Like when you look at fire, what is fire? But fire, what we don't look at is the counter space. Everything around a flame on a candle also exists in relation to the flame, which is how a flame dissipates and dances, right? How is a flame, liquid fire plasma interacting with electrical wind? What is wind, right? A wind current. What is money? Currency, right? It's electricity, power. If you really, because I know a lot of people love the language and the gematria, I love that too. I don't try and get caught up in the language, but it's very easy to see why the language actually connects the way it does, where it's not really, it can be both nefarious and also beneficent or benevolent, because, right, you could say, oh, this ritual, the Illuminati know this because this word matched up with this person's death. But I think it actually matches up the same reason that you see faces on the moon, because we use words and culture and ideas that are based along the same geometry. Therefore, coincidence is bound to happen because there is self-similarity and resonance within the inherent system. All right, just reading some comments here, sorry. Electric Crystal says, sounds like an extension of a sense to be able to read an individual's life plasma. Well, if you think about anyway, there are a lot of ways to think about it, but I think importantly, what I was trying to say yesterday and throughout many streams is really go check out some of the people who've done the research already. So I'm remixing a lot of information here. Certainly, like, a lot of these ideas are my own, but a lot of them are from Ken Wheeler, from Eileen McCusick, from Eric Dollard, from Tesla, from Rupert Sheldrake, Donald Scott, and on, and you'll see that Rupert Sheldrake has done experiments where he sets up a phone call system where people answer the phone and they have to guess who it is. And they do this test where they say A or B, right, or A, B, C. I guess it's one of these three. And he's done measurements on this that prove that there is a lean towards people having intuition. A lot of people believe this just anyway, but if you can prove it with science, always with numbers or tests, it's always better. So he's done that. He's done the same thing with parents or mothers and their kids, feeling a kid. Of course, the umbilical cord is the electrical filament, the Birkeland cord. You cut that, but the electrical connection is still there, right? You can still walk free, but your mother can tell when something is wrong with you, even if there's nothing wrong with you. And then he's done tests with dogs, knowing when their owners are thinking about coming home, and not even coming home yet, but from miles and miles away, the dog gets excited half an hour before the owner returns because it can sense that the owner is actually sending out this signal, which starts to traverse this whole other realm, which is how things even work at all, and in terms of actions. What's an action, right? What is a vector? So here's some food for thought. Let's say you want to do something. Everything that you do starts with this kernel, a little seed, right? You could think about it as a node on an electrical network. So you send out, or you create this idea in your mind's eye, and then you mutually mass accelerate towards this idea. So you're magnetically drawn to a self-generated kernel of electricity. And I think this is when we say we're drawn to something. What does that even mean? Or when, time is drifting away from us. If you really take all these terms, you'll see that you could describe it in physical plasma layers, and it would make perfect sense. So Rupert Sheldrake has done actual experiments. Go check out his channel. He's also taking photos of three-dimensional cymatic holograms that really could theoretically be the way information is stored in plasma ether. Like, there doesn't need to be more speculation beyond what they're doing. Then the other one is Eileen McCusick, who talks about, combing a human's biofield. She's the one who talks about your birth being 30 feet away from you, your midlife being, halfway, and then all the memories that are close to you are happening now, in the now. And from that derivation, I started to think about this whole nucleus pinging the shells of plasma in order to interact with the cymatic patterns that Rupert Sheldrake talks about. So I imagine that Eileen and Rupert both have an idea of what I'm talking about in this, or whatever, that I've remixed and said, okay, this is how the nucleus, the chakras of the human being ping a plasma shell, and that's how it creates the next plasma shell. That's an additive combined effect of the past plasma shell coupled with the interaction with the plasma shell additively creates the next one, and so on and so forth. Therefore, everything that's ever happened is stored in some way, like a copy of a copy, in every shell. But of course, because the shells get further and further away, the additive effect becomes less and less when it comes to memories that are further into the past or further away from the nucleus. So Mary says, and my dreams are happening in the now. So I think dreams are interesting because if you think about these toroidal Fibonacci spirals that emanate from the center of this geometry, you imagine that there are funnels, like in Donnie Darko, for example. You've seen that kind of tube of plasma that emanates from the chest. So imagine that tube of plasma goes out of the back of your body and all the way to the front, but it's also through every chakra. So your chakras, from your heart chakra, throat chakra, crown, have these plasma tubes or funnels that are collecting and interacting with the shells. And then, sorry, I'm just getting like a twitch in the nose, but yeah, you have those. Every chakra has a tube, so to speak. So when you lay down on your back, all 7 chakras are pointing upwards. So your funnels are interacting with a completely different field modality than you would everything around you and from your day-to-day work or your life. You'd interact with people on a right angle, right, standing up, with funnels at the top of your crown chakra pointing upwards through the Birkeland filament and downwards towards Earth. But then your other 7 chakras are aligned front and back. So laying on your back or on your side, you interact with completely different consciousness fields. Therefore, I think that, especially and when you're sleeping, because you're not using the brain and other motor functions, there's more ability to reach and to spiral further into conscious field modalities, and that's how I think we dream. Outer body experiences, so to speak, but in a physical sense. Yep, like Russian dolls, symmetric hologram. Love it. Great comments, everybody. Thank you. Let me take a little break here and try and blow my nose, because I don't know what it is. It's just when the weather changes. You can see it. The thick clouds have moved in here. So be right back. Comment of the night, nose plasma. So true. I don't know, it feels a little bit like allergies. Leaf blowers are abound all day long, and it's just like dust in the air and stuff. So I don't know, maybe I need to take a little break here. 2-hour show, feeling good. I'm gonna let the moon drift off after this because I feel like the clouds just are very persistent tonight, and I'm definitely gonna try and stream tomorrow. Seems like it'll be clear. Good chat tonight. Super appreciate the questions. Great to see you, Electric Crystals. Welcome. Hope you join us again. And Barbara, thanks for all the great ideas, great thoughts. I know you had one more question that I missed. Let me see. It said something about my opinion of Native Americans moving in circles. Are they moving through memories kind of like Mama and Baby Duck? Hard to explain. Well, I think there's something like inducing current by tracing circles, right? Like walking in a maze or walking in a circle or spinning your finger in a glass of water, you can create a vortex. So I feel like if you induce vortices, then are you creating a better connection to the plasma layers around you, or a different connection, rather a more energetic connection or vortex? Are you physically touching a certain region that has cymatics in it that you're messing with? I can imagine like what are if you think about drugs and psychedelics in relation to plasma cosmology, it's really fascinating. It's funny that you have all these experts, and I'll honestly say, like, even not Rupert Sheldrake, but Terence McKenna, who I really love, was not really talking about plasma, was not talking about electric universe, was much more talking about elves, but he was talking about fractal geometry. So Terence McKenna was having real mushroom trips and seeing this hexagonal recursive fractal geometry. And so he was reporting back and saying, wow, this is like such a freaking trip. Like, I'm sure that these elves or these machine elves that look like hexagons and form everything, right? The same way we see, like, sorry, I'm having a tough time. Like Buddy Dougherty, who's been on the channel before, and he's drawn these toruses and these hypertrochoids overlaid in chains, and you kind of see how complex this might look if absolutely everything had these geometries superimposed. So the simple way of imagining it is like the Matrix at the end, where Neo can see the code, or in They Live, in John Carpenter's They Live, I know he sees all the propaganda, but more so this geometry, this torus, hourglass, and onion skin plasma layers that hold consciousness and information. If you can imagine that on top of a shape, then you can see counter space all of a sudden. It's extremely empowering and changes almost everything. So I feel like, and you know, it is a revelation to me. And then I've also thought about, well, is it really Zen to give away the answer so so easily? But really, it is such an easy answer. You know, when you really think about it, you know the self. Excuse me. You know the self because I said this yesterday and on many shows, you right now are growing your own body. You're growing your hand, you're growing your skin, you're growing your hair, you're growing fingernails, you grew your eyeballs, the most beautiful jewels. You grew 2 of them and they work. So you as a human being right now are a living embodiment of a deity, what essentially on the level of power, you know, especially women, because you can give birth, you can literally create life. So there's this weird disconnect between the disempowerment of mankind, humankind, that says, no, humans are just a cancer on this planet. We're unnatural. Earth can't wait to get rid of us. We're flung into the Goldilocks void of, a lost, orphaned universe, pale blue dot, insignificant humans, right? Aliens don't even want to hang out with us. I mean, this is the narrative. But nobody is saying, no, every single person, even terrible people, know how to make an eyeball from scratch. I mean, this is really the truth, right? This is physics. You could say we're in an imaginary hologram, right? we're in a simulation. But to that, I would say, what makes it any less real, right? Is there an outside that you know of? So most of it is speculation, right? What's not speculation is you have a hand, and you have two of them, and you have toes, and you made all of them. And you'll kill your own body too. You'll birth yourself and you'll die yourself. And that's all I can tell you in terms of like the simple answer is that you're already gods and you're already super powerful. And the whole trick is that you tell yourselves that you're not. It's the great actor. The biggest ruse that you can play is to pretend that you never existed. As hard as you can, that you're so weak and pathetic, but truly, at the end of it, you did all of this. I see Michael Stiller joined us. I observe different sorts of dreams. I know they are different. It's like a cognitive thing. I am aware of the dream. I used to think that was really weird too, but I'll remember, like I can't control my dreams, but I definitely know a lot of the times that I'm in a bed dreaming when I'm in the middle of like a very intense dream. But it doesn't make the dream feel any less real or scary. So just reading a couple more comments here. All right. That's it for tonight, everybody. I really appreciate all of you and everybody who is lurking or who wasn't here tonight. You're all important in the grand scheme. A quick note, thank you to everybody who picked up music on Bandcamp. I said I was going to upload more tracks. I think I will, but this one, Willpowered, is up there now. You can check out Bandcamp or share it with somebody who might like it. Leave me a comment or whatever you like, and I will catch you on the next trip, my space friends. Have a wonderful night, and we're almost there. We're almost through this crazy year, but who knows what's going to happen in the next? Who the hell knows? All right, y'all. Much love. Have a great night. I'll catch you on the next one. Captain out.
A souvenir, a soon rescue, a retourner. Le fixing the phone, mixing your liquids, now you're left for dead. Just pay your debts. Float, the moon is calling. A souvenir, a soon rescue.